Hello friends, myself Dr. Ashish Sharma. In my last video, which was part 1 of ICH guidelines, I talked about introduction of ICH guidelines and the first two parameters of analytical method validation, specificity and linearity. In the continuation of part 1, here I will talk about remaining parameters of analytical method development, which include range, accuracy, precision, LOD, LOQ, robustness and system suitability criteria. If you want to watch part 1 of ICH guidelines, please click on the link provided in description, and if you feel that it is worth watching these videos, please like these videos, share among your friends, and importantly, don't forget to subscribe it. Alright, so in this part we start with range. Range is the third parameter of analytical method validation. It defines the upper and lower limits of linear analytical responses, or in other words, we can say that responses of analytical instruments can directly be correlated with concentration of API within the linearity range. We can say that within the linearity range, we can rely upon responses of the analytical technique. Once we got this linearity range of an analytical method, we can use this standard curve or straight line curve for determination of unknown concentration. Concentration of API in unknown sample must be able to produce signal or response, for example, absorbance on y-axis within the linearity range. Then only quantification of unknown sample is considered validated, or we can use this response or y value to find out the concentration of unknown solution of API. As per ICH guidelines, there are different range specifications according to types of analytical methods. For the assay of a drug, substance or a finished drug product, the linearity range should be 80 to 120% of the test concentration. We can understand it by this example. If the test concentration of API is 10 mg per ml, then the analytical method must show linearity from 8 mg per ml to 12 mg per ml concentration of API. Range specification for content uniformity must be 70% to 130% of the test concentration. Range specification for dissolution testing should be plus or minus 20% over the specified range, and range specification for the determination of an impurity must be up to 120% from the reporting level of the impurity. These range specifications are framed considering the acceptance limit of the results associated with the particular types of analysis. Accuracy is the next parameter of analytical method validation. Accuracy is a measure of how close the experiment value is to the true value. We can understand this by taking an example of API content of a tablet. Suppose we have a set of tablets where each tablet contains 75 mg of API. This is the true value or reference value. Now, if one analyst A finds the average value of API content in each tablet as 74.5 mg, while analyst B finds average content in each tablet 72 mg, now we have to find out which value 74.5 mg or 72 mg is closer to the true value or reference value, which is 75 mg of course. Here 74.5 per mg tablet is more closer to the true value as compared to 72 mg per tablet. Hence, API content 74.5 mg per tablet can be said more accurate results. So I think this is clear that accuracy is a measure of how close the experimental value is to the true value. Accuracy is expressed as a percentage and obtained by performing recovery studies. Before telling about recovery studies, I would like to let you know about placebo matrix, which is made up of a mixture of all ingredients composing the drug products except the API. To perform recovery studies, placebo matrix is fortified with a known quantity of the API. It means we have to mix a known quantity or known amount of API to the placebo matrix. This amount of API must be lie within the intended linearity range of the method. For example, if you are performing percentage recovery studies for content uniformity, the amount of added API must lie within the linearity range of 70 to 130%. Fortification or addition of API is done in triplicate at 3 levels such as 70%, 100% and 130%, covering the entire linearity range. Hence, we all have total 9 determinations. The percent recovery of an API is calculated from the detector response obtained from an amount of the API added and extracted from the matrix. Here we take added amount of API as reference or 100%. The current slide represents the schematic of general procedure of percent recovery studies to show accuracy of an analytical method. As a general procedure, a known quantity of an API is added to placebo matrix at 3 different levels. For example, 70%, 100% and 130%. And then this API is extracted with suitable method. Concentration of API in the extracted sample is then determined with the help of response of appropriate analytical technique such as HPLC, HPTLC, UV visible spectroscopy. Recovered quantity of the API is calculated and presented as percentage of fortified quantity or initially added quantity. This slide shows presentation of percent recovery data. Now, we have learnt that percentage recovery studies are performed at 3 different levels and thrice for each level. Here, percentage recovery data of ABC API from XYZ tablet is being presented in the given table. Percentage recovery studies were performed at 70%, 100% and 130% of sample concentration. Percentage recoveries data obtained 3 times and presented as mean with percentage relative standard deviation or percentage RSD. Now the question is how we can calculate the percentage of recovered quantity of API. The answer is straight line curve or straight line equation only. Here you will get the value of y as a response of analytical instrument. Put this value in the straight line equation to find out value of x, which is API's concentration in the sample solution. Considering the dilutions we made, we always can do back calculation to get the amount of the recovered drug, and then we can calculate percentage recovery of spiked API. Fifth parameter of analytical method validation is precision. Precision is the degree of closeness of the data values to each other for a number of measurements under the same analytical conditions. Precision is presented as percentage RSD. It means when an experiment is repeated multiple times, the degree of closeness of the result of one experiment to another experiment is known as precision. Precision can be of three types. First is repeatability. Here, closeness of results of multiple measurements is observed when studies are performed in a single day using one analyst on an instrument only. Second type of precision is intermediate precision. Intermediate precision studies are performed by different analysts on different days by using different equipments, different standards and sample solutions. Then closeness of the results is observed. While third type of precision is reproducibility. It is also called precision between labs. Reproducibility can be determined as a part of inter-laboratory qualification, method transfer or collaborative studies. In a simpler way, precision helps us to show that once analytical method is validated, it can produce consistent results whether studies are performed by different analysts in different days on different instruments. Precision is presented by percent RSD or percent relative standard deviation, which is actually percent variation or standard deviation from the average value of a result. Higher percent RSD means less precise method, which is not preferred, while lower percent RSD means more precise method, which is always preferred. The table presented here shows precision in the form of percentage RSD for a set of experiments conducted for each level. Here we can see percentage recovery studies at the level of 130%, showing minimum percentage RSD as 0.2%. Because all the three results at this level are very close to each other, you can see this is an blue rectangle as compared to results of other two levels. Hence, we can say that at the level of 130%, this analytical method shows highest precision. Sometimes precision and accuracy, both the term create confusion, so let me tell you the difference between them. Accuracy defines the closeness of the average experimental values to the reference value, while precision defines the closeness of the different experimental values with each other. This can be exemplified by figure A and figure B at bottom right of this slide. In figure A, where all black dots are very close to each other but away from the central reference point, shows high precision but low accuracy. In figure B, where all black dots are very close to each other and very close to central reference point also, this shows high precision and high accuracy as well. Limit of detection LOD and limit of quantitation LOQ are the next parameters of analytical method validation. LOD of an analytical method is the lowest detectable concentration by an analytical method, while LOQ is lowest quantifiable concentration with acceptable accuracy and precision by an analytical method. Here, quantifiable concentration means concentration of analyte or API can be determined with acceptable accuracy and precision, while LOD is limited to minimum concentration of analyte or API which can be detected. Limit of detection LOD and limit of quantitation LOQ can be determined by three ways. One of the way is based on visual evaluation. This is applicable on non-instrumental methods where color change indicates presence of analyte. For example, LOD by titrimetric methods is determined by visual evaluation. Visual evaluation methods must be supported by a suitable analytical instrumental method. The next way of finding LOD and LOQ is based on signal to noise ratio. This is applied to analytical procedures which generally shows baseline noise such as HPLC. This is performed by comparing signals of lowest concentration of analyte with signals of blank samples to establish the minimum concentration at which the analyte can confidently be detected for LOD and quantified for LOQ. An acceptable signal to noise ratio for LOD generally lies between 3:1 to 2:1 and acceptable signal to noise ratio for LOQ is 10:1. Another way of finding out LOD and LOQ is based on the standard deviation of the response and the slope of the straight line. In this method, detection limit is obtained by dividing the product of 3.3 and standard deviation of the response sigma by slope of the calibration curve. Similarly, quantitation limit is obtained by dividing the product of 10 and standard deviation of the response sigma with slope of the calibration curve. Here, I would like to emphasize that standard deviation of intercepts of regression lines is used as the standard deviation of the response. Lower LOD and LOQ values suggest that the better sensitivity of analytical method, or in other words, we can say that a sensitive analytical method can detect and quantify the lowest concentration of API in a sample. These types of analytical methods are preferred as per ICH guidelines. This slide talks about robustness, which is the next parameter of method validation. We all know that new analytical methods might be developed by best conditions in a laboratory, for example, with a new column, dedicated equipment, and by an experienced analyst. But routine analysis of commercial samples may involve many analysts and can be carried out in a busy quality control or analytical laboratory. So, the developed analytical method must be robust enough to produce the consistent results even performed by different analysts and in different laboratories. Thus, robustness establishes the reliability of the method with respect to deliberate variations in the operating parameters, maybe different column lots from different vendors. It also determines the stability of samples and standard solutions. Hence, robustness ensures us that the developed methods will keep producing the consistent results within the permissible limit without being affected by variations in different operating parameters. These operating parameters may differ according to analytical technique. Here, for example, I am talking about robustness parameters of HPLC and GC. Upper table shown in the slide presents operating parameters of HPLC for robustness. For example, mobile phase composition, which may be varied plus minus 10%. Mobile phase pH can be varied from 0.2 to 1 unit. Column temperature can be varied plus minus 5 degrees centigrade. Solvent flow rate may be varied plus minus 25%. Analytical columns of same specification obtained from different vendors may be used. Injection volumes may be varied plus minus 25%. It can be said that if the developed HPLC method is validated as per ICH guidelines, it will produce the consistent results within the permissible limits, even though we make the above mentioned changes in chromatographic conditions. Thus, after validating the robustness, this HPLC method can be used in any laboratory of the world. It would produce the expected result. This is the main purpose of analytical method validation. Likewise, chromatography conditions in gas chromatography can be varied to validate robustness of gas chromatography method. These robustness parameters of GC are mentioned in the lower table of this slide. If the developed GC method is validated with these robustness parameter, it would produce the expected results within the permissible limit in any laboratory of the world. System suitability test is the next and last parameter of analytical method development. System suitability tests are used to verify that an analytical method was suitable for its intended purpose. This is an essential parameter to ensure the quality of the method for correct measurement. In this parameter, we have to check that measurements which are being done by analytical instruments are correct and suitable for qualitative and quantitative analysis of APIs. SST parameters may vary according to the analytical instruments used. For example, here I am talking about system suitability test for HPLC in brief. The first system suitability test for HPLC is precision or injection repeatability, which is expressed as relative standard deviation and indicates the performance of the HPLC including plumbing, column efficiency and environmental conditions at the time the samples are analyzed. Acceptance criteria as per ICH guidelines is for n equal to 5 injection repeatability, RSD should be less than 2%, and for n equal to 6 injection repeatability, RSD can be greater than 2%. Capacity factor or K prime is another system suitability test for HPLC which denotes the location of analyte's peak with respect to the void volume. Here the first question is, what is void volume? So, void volume in the simplest words is the volume of the mobile phase in the column. It can be referred to as the volume of an unretained peak, sometimes called unretained peak T0. When solvent is injected into HPLC, it will elute at the unretained peak position. So, this is the void volume. The formula of capacity factor is shown on the slide. As per ICH guidelines, the peak of APIs should be well resolved from other peaks and the peak of void volume. Generally, the value of K must be greater than 2. Signal to noise ratio S upon N is another system suitability test for HPLC. It refers to the ratio between the intensity of the desired output signal and the background noise. Higher the signal to noise ratio, better the signal quality. This can be obtained by the formula mentioned here. As per ICH guidelines, signal to noise ratio must be 2:1 for calculating limit of detection, and it must be 10:1 for calculating limit of quantitation. Another system suitability test for HPLC is resolution of the peaks. It is a measure of how well two peaks are separated. Well separated peaks are very essential to calculate correct area under the curve by integration. Resolution between two HPLC peaks can be calculated by the formula mentioned on the slide. As per ICH guideline, resolution between the peaks of interest and the closest potential interfering peaks must be greater than 2. Tailing factor T is another system suitability test for HPLC. Tailing factor accounts for tailing in a HPLC peak. This is very well understood that tailing of HPLC peak poses difficulty in peak integration, hence increases in the peak tailing will reduce the accuracy in quantitation of analyte. Tailing factor can be calculated by dividing the width of the peak at 5% of the peak height by distance between maximum and the leading edge of the peak. As per ICH recommendations, tailing factor must be equal or less than 2. Theoretical plate number or capital N is another system suitability test for HPLC, which is an index of column efficiency. As the number of theoretical plates increases, efficiency of column also increases. ICH guidelines recommend theoretical plate number to be greater than 2000. That's all about analytical method validation as per ICH guidelines. You can mention your questions, suggestions in comment box. Millions of thanks for watching these videos. Lots of thanks to Mr. Viren Singh for video recording and editing.